Welcome back to Mommy Lifeline. This Lifeline series is your ultimate escape from the everyday challenges of life. Today, we're getting right back to business and reclaiming our careers. Whether you are currently on the job hunt in this unpredictable market or attempting to climb the career ladder to land your dream job, or if you're a parent gearing up to re-enter the workforce after time off with baby, this show is your ultimate guide to successfully leveling up your professional career. So we'll be deep diving with a career coach specializing in human resources who will spill all the truth about what it really takes to get back in the game. So grab your coffee and a notepad, bring a little confidence because we're getting right back to business.
Yeah.
Now, for the secret sauce of our show today, we're joined by an incredible guest with years of HR and career coaching experience. She is someone who has helped countless people land the job of their dreams and grow their careers to the next level. What truly sets her apart, though, is her love for helping people. Get ready for game-changing insights from someone who truly does care. Welcome, Yvonne Bailey.
Well, thank you for having me. As you guys can see, it says V Bailey here, but I go by V Bailey and Yvonne, Vaughn, whichever one that you like, to call me. But thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to share any wisdom and knowledge that I have about the field.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your expertise and for all those asking. Well, how deep are we going to go into this topic? What are you covering today? Well, here's a sneak peek. So we're talking about job hunt like a pro, aiming high, getting the job that you really want, resume glow up, dress for success in your interview, nail that interview, climb the ladder and maximize your earnings. And then we'll jump right into success stories and real advice. All right, so let's get right to it.
Yes.
So, job hunt like a pro. I want to ask the audience a quick question just to get some insights from you guys. If you could ask an HR expert one question about job hunting, what would it be? We have an expert right here. So drop your questions down below and we'll get to you and answer those questions as soon as we can. So my first question for Yvonne Bailey, the average job seeker spends hours applying with little success. What's the smartest way to job hunt efficiently and actually get results?
So what I would say the most efficient way to do that and to get a lot of success is to know what you want for starters. A lot of times people are like, oh, I just need a job, or they're getting back in the job and they know what they want the end goal to be, but they're not thinking about the best way to approach it. And so I would say, it would be to make sure that you know what you want. And also, like I would say, keep your ears to the street. What's going on? What kind of opportunities are out there and available to you? What kind of positions are going to fit your needs? And so that's really important to do the research, make sure that you know what's going on. And another way that you're going to know what is happening, what's going on, what opportunities are available is having a great network. Connecting with people. This is important just in general in life, is to have a great network, because you never know who you're going to need. And if there's something you don't know, someone else knows it. So you want to make sure that you are focusing on your network and also utilizing your online resources like LinkedIn, different job boards. You want to be able to subscribe to different job boards and joining professional organizations as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I was thinking about that. LinkedIn, we're not on there every day. It's not a TikTok, it's not a Facebook activity level for us. But when someone leaves or enters a job space that you're in, you want to connect because you never know where your career paths are going to cross. If somebody in the past can come back, help you out, throw you an opportunity. And so that's super critical. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, which brings me to my next question. Is there a magic number for how many jobs to apply for per week to maximize success?
So no, I mean, to maximize it, absolutely. There's no magic number, but experts say between 12 to 15 a week is a good number, or 2 to 3 a day, so that you can avoid burnout. And I would agree. And make sure that you're applying for positions when you have the most energy in your day. Some people, it may be night. For me, I have most of my energy in the morning till about 1 o'clock, 2 p.m. So what would be best, for people like me would to apply early in the morning, which is good because a lot of the postings are happening, at that time. And sometimes they're happening at the end of the day. And so, of course, I'm not going to say if you're tired, you see a dream job post and it just posted and you're qualified to not apply for it. No, that's a one-off, that's one job, but you want to make sure that you have the energy so that you're not all burnt out by the time you get to a job that could be a great opportunity, but then they have 100 questions.
Yeah. The burnout is real because I've always heard finding a job is a job. And it's a lot of work. You're investing into yourself. You're pulling from like years long of professional experience, and you want to make sure you get it right. You want to make sure you're using keywords and just be very, very targeted in your responses on that application. So that's good. Good stuff.
And just one more thing too, the earlier, the better. Not early in the day, even though I mentioned that, but I'm meaning early in the application process. So soon as they post it, you want to post within, you want to apply within the first day, because it's proven that, if you are applying within the first day, you're absolutely more than likely going to get either an interview or some type of response of them reaching out for a phone interview.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. Early bird gets the worm or the job. Okay. So this is for the parents out there. What's a common mistake parents returning to work make in their applications that immediately hurts their chances?
Okay. So what I would say there is with the application process is straightforward. So I would say it's more so in the interview process, and I'll touch on that. But on the application process, I would say it's not reading the job description. Be honest with yourself. How many times have you seen something you're like, oh, this would be great. I love the salary. And you just applied. You didn't really look at all of the qualifications. You didn't see that they said they want you to be bilingual because it's at the bottom. You didn't see the location of the job. Sometimes you're just not looking at what the qualifications are, or
if there's travel.
If there's travel involved, and I'm a new mom. Yes, I'm going back to work, but I need something that is more local. I can't say that I can commit to traveling 50%, or even 25% in the beginning. So that is really important, is to make sure that you're reading the job description and also tailoring your resume to the job. If you have different roles, different experiences, but this role, let's just say for me, I have a lot of HR experience. I've been in the game for 13 years. 13 years. And with that being said, I've also worked in different sections of HR, payroll specifically, and then also leave of absence, so FMLA, right? And then I have plenty of experience in being an HR generalist and HR supervisor. So with that, it's kind of covering everything. But if I was applying for a position in leave of absence, I don't necessarily want to use my HR supervisor role or my generalist role, because they're thinking when they see this, they're just like, okay, well, generalist, yeah, but you've been probably spread pretty thin. You're kind of covering everything. So are you really an expert in leave of absence? So I want to pull from my leave of absence and make sure that it's heavy in each position. I'm going to list every position that I've had, but I want to make sure that it's heavy. Ooh, I see a lot of leave of absence there in this generalist role. I see a lot in the in the HR supervisor role. And so that they're like, okay, yeah, it's binging for them. It's, and a lot of these things are automated. So you want the computer, you want that AI to see, oh, I see a lot of FMLA here. So that is extremely important.
Yes, that's great advice. Moving on to the next section here. Aim high, getting the job you really want. So this is all about how to leverage your transferable skills to land your ideal role. And you touched on it a little bit, but my first question is for you, the audience out there. What's one job you'd love to have if nothing was holding you back? So we're talking about that dream job, even if you weren't getting like the top pay rate, but it's just something you would love to do for the rest of your days before retirement. What is that job? We want to hear what you got going on, what you're dreaming about in the chat. Let us know. So for our expert, many job seekers think they have to settle for the first job they can get. You talked about this, job hunting with desperation, right?
Yeah.
But how can they confidently go after the roles that they truly want?
Well, I would
even
say,
in a desert place, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because it's still a stream of income, right? So the job that you really want, I would say, is preparing yourself. Be prepared. That means researching. So one way that you can kind of cover all of the different companies that you may be applying for is hone in on the type of company that you would like to work for, and then the role that you are looking to get into, right? Or come back to. You want to make sure that you're doing your best to learn as much about that role as possible. And you also want to identify and highlight the experience that you gain as a parent, bringing that into, into your interview and into your job hunt. And when you're interacting with these managers, because a lot of those skills that you're learning are transferable. And you want to make sure that you are highlighting, hey, I wasn't just over here making a baby, right? I was helping my family out. I might be, supporting with the, as you mentioned before, the parent committee, for, school. You're not just doing nothing. You are learning how to multitask better than you probably did before, getting very organized, because it's so important, as a mom, to be organized, right? There's going to be a lot of situations that you're put in that are going to require you to be more organized. So even if you didn't plan on it or didn't think about it, you are becoming more organized. You are learning how to get with the program and be able to handle yourself in stressful situations and when you have deadlines. How many times have you been on your way home and thinking like, okay, I'm going to relax. And then right when you're around the corner, your child is calling you saying, I need this for my project tomorrow.
Right.
I need some money for this,
so that's really good. And it's not just for moms and dads, for anybody. Like, let's say your dream job is in tech, but you don't have a whole lot of experience in these technical companies or technical spaces. Let's say you come from, a totally different career sector, whatever. Whatever you learn over there on the job, even if it's just an internship and you're starting your career right out of college, there's so many things you learn in college, in internships, those skills do transfer over as well. So if you do feel like you've gotten a good grasp on organization or communication, maybe that was, your major, or maybe you minored in communication. All of those skills can transfer over to the job of your dreams, because they're needed. And again, these transferable skills, everybody is looking for. And they're so important and critical to not only you landing the job, but becoming a cultural fit, because they want to work with somebody who's great to work with. And so that's how you show up, and bring everything with you, to just present yourself as best you can. So thank you for that. What industry or roles tend to be most flexible and parent friendly?
That's not something that, unless it is broadcasted, when they're talking about top companies to work for and it's advertised, because they're looking for that specifically, so it's not something that's necessarily advertised, but what I would say is when you're job hunting, looking in the benefits section, you can tell by the benefits and the different things that they're offering, they're letting you know up front that this is going to be a parent-friendly company. A lot of companies most of the companies I work for have been parent-friendly. A lot of the companies are now moving to having pumping stations for those new mothers. So you have the privacy, to pump. You're not having to run home. You can pump and, store your milk, for your baby, and not have that to stress over. There are daycares. Absolutely. There are daycares at a lot of these larger companies. And so that's something that you want to, it's not always in your face, but when you're applying for positions, you can always look at the benefits that they offer, what they share, and then also in the interview process, if they haven't shared enough for you and you want to find out more information without outwardly saying, hey, what do you have for mothers? You can find out what are the different benefit packages that you guys have. You want to show confidence that you're an asset, and they should definitely hire you. What do you have to offer?
One of my favorite benefits, and I know the moms and dads out there will absolutely agree, is childcare subsidy for the company I work for. And by the way, I'm newly back to business after being out on maternity leave for 5 glorious months about a year or so ago. And so when I jumped back into work, I immediately applied for that child subsidy, which basically helps with childcare costs, which we all know are very pricey these days. And so I'm just so grateful for that benefit. And I would have never known if I didn't ask, or like you said, check on the benefits page to see what's out there for, the company I work for. And every company is going to be different. Some just have more to offer than others. So you have to ask, because, you could miss out on a savings in some place. And we all know we need the savings, no matter if you have a child or not. We want to keep our money if possible. So that is amazing. Getting the job you really want. Don't forget those transferable skills and get your benefits. Okay.
Yes. And I will say too, a lot of companies will put that out there because let's say if you're not making as much, but they want to compensate with their benefits package. So they'll share those things with you, like, well, yes, but we make up for it here with your PTO. You have
to sweeten the deal.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We have on-site daycare. You know what I mean? We have this stipend, daycare stipend. So absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Resumes. Okay. So if your resume is looking a little dusty, blow it off. This is how we're going to get your resume glow up going. So we're talking about relatable tips for building a resume that's going to stand out, but stand out for the right reasons. Okay. So you're going to want to listen in, scoot closer. So we have an audience question for you guys. What is one thing on your resume that you believe actually catches the attention of an employer and really stands out? So we want to hear from you. Give us your ideas. Other people need to hear it as well. So, to our expert, my question for you on Resume Glow Up: how should job seekers address a career gap on their resume without it becoming a red flag?
You know, what I would say with that is it's very important to highlight your skill set, right? Because in life, everything is about sales. You have to sell yourself in every relationship that you have. You might think that you don't, but you are selling them every day. Your interaction, you're convincing someone to do something with you, do something for you, to enjoy you more, obviously you want to bring your authentic self, but also you can touch on it because they're going to address it. If there are any, as you can see when you're applying for jobs, if there are any career gaps, can you explain, right? And in that explanation process, if you're not kind of stretching out your experience, because sometimes people do that, and that's fine. But in that, when you're explaining the gaps, be confident. And like I mentioned earlier, it's owning your choices. You did this, you felt like you were privileged, to be able to take that time off and care for a loved one or your baby, right? Have a baby. This is a part of your life. Something that was important to you is to expand your family. You did it. You were in a position that you could do that because there was multiple streams of income. And now you are confidently coming back to the workforce with all of the new skills that you have, right? From being a mother and different things, situations that you were put in because you're a mother, and bringing that to the table and sharing with them that this has actually been a benefit. So now I'm coming back to the workforce stronger, right?
Yeah.
So short, honest, owning it, and moving past it, because you're going to sell yourself in your skill set and your experience. And so if they're looking for you, they're going to be, excited about the fact that you're qualified for the job, but you're also experienced, and you have all these new experiences you can bring.
Absolutely. Okay. So just keep it confident. Be honest, be direct. Let them know that this break is a positive for not only me, but for you too.
For you too, you're going to benefit.
Awesome. Okay. We got it. We're going to do that. Okay. So more on resumes. What's the biggest mistake you see on resumes that immediately gets them tossed to the side?
Oh boy.
To the left, to the left.
So much. What I would say, because I do look at it, a lot of times you can see a resume that looks great and they're a terrible candidate. You don't want them working for you, right? And then sometimes the resume needs some work, but you can tell that they can do the job. You like their personality, and that's a big one. A lot of companies are looking for a good cultural fit, whether the culture is toxic or it's positive in a family, environment. True. And they will say, you're not a cultural fit, or they're a good cultural fit for us, meaning you move like we move, right? And so that's really important. So on your resume, you want to definitely be able to sell yourself, but where people mess up is maybe it's too long. A lot of them, they say that it should be 2 pages. I've had a resume that was 3 pages, and I got so many calls, and so many companies were interested in me because of my experience, and also
the cover letter, the 2 pages.
Yeah, the cover page, the cover letter, and then a 2-page resume. Yeah, the cover letter is separate, because a lot of times companies want to see your cover letter. That's a summary, of what you bring to the table. And so, so if that's selling them, your experience is selling them, you're going to be good. It depends on what they're looking for. And as I mentioned, I don't know for sure if I mentioned this, but we're not a good fit for each other. That's the best opportunity is where you're a good fit for each other. You're both, bringing something to each other's lives, right? There are a lot of old school leaders who will look at your resume and they'll see grammatical errors. One or two will do it for them. And some will see a colorful resume and they're like, they'll automatically think, are they mature? Maybe they're looking for someone more serious. And so you want to be yourself, right? But you also want to make sure that you're maintaining that level of professionalism, so that they, see, okay, this is not a gamble. This person might be a little out there and that's not really what we're looking for. And so, yeah, you can think of that as a positive, because if they don't like it and this is a big part of you and you don't want to shut that off of yourself, then, they weren't a good fit for you anyways.
Okay.
But that's really important.
Yes. So rapid fire answer if you can. So what are, in 3 words or 3 words or a sentence, whatever you can do.
Okay.
What are the top 3 things on a resume that must be there to catch an employer's attention? If it's like top 3 sections, but just what are they? Because some people don't even know what areas are critical to have on your resume. So what 3 things absolutely have to be there?
So I would say that your experience needs to be clear and concise. I would also say that it's the length of your resume, trying to keep it short. Also, the template style, something simple, keeping the template very simple and adding your information, and that would do it. So 3 is the template, the length of it, and also making sure you have some great experience there.
Yes. Okay. That's important. Okay. Very good. Thank you for that. Yes. Okay. So this is a fun section here. It's the dress for success in your interview. You have to put your best foot forward. You want to look like you have the job already. So this is so important. And that's why I felt like it was worth mentioning. So in my first episode of Lifeline in this series, our style coach spilled some secrets on great fashion and impeccable style. So whether you're male or female, I'm confident that there's something there just for you. So I will link that video in the description so you can check it out and get caught up on the series. So Absolutely. My one tip for you, number 1 tip, is match the company culture while maintaining professionalism. So you got to research the company. Our expert told you, you got to know who you're applying to, right? If they have a dress code, choose an outfit that is slightly more polished than their everyday standard. That's the winning formula. But usually you can't go wrong with a well-tailored suit that screams, I mean business. So that's the dress for success tip for you guys out there. Next, we're getting into the interview. How do you nail the interview? So we're talking about secrets to selling yourself with confidence and landing that offer, which we've already touched on a little bit, so that you can go into this interview with confidence, with ease, and take over that room, right?
Absolutely.
So this is a question for our audience. What's the weirdest and hardest interview question you've ever been asked before? Let's hear it. Put it down in the chat. I know I've been asked some crazy questions you had to take a second to think about before you actually answer. So anything that's weird or kind of hard to answer, just put it down in the chat. We want to prepare each other for these kind of random field questions that we're going to be asked. But for our expert, my question about interviewing is, how do you answer the dreaded, so tell me about yourself, in a way that actually sells you?
Absolutely. Yes, that question is the one that makes people a little uncomfortable, you could say, especially if you've never applied for a job. But usually they will ask you this question. And in answering it, what's really important, where people tend to mess up, and candidates tend to mess up, is talking about their life and, sharing all these different information about their upbringing. I used to milk cows, this and that, different things that have nothing to do with the job. So when managers, hiring managers are asking you this question. They're asking you this question, which is kind of like a trick question, but they want to know what, in your experiences, what have you experienced? What have you learned in your life about things that pertain to this role, right? So when I ask, tell me about yourself, that means tell me about your experience as it pertains to this job. And yeah, you're thinking like, why not just ask me that? But it is what it is. So you just want to make sure that you pull from your experience in your past positions and in life, that you can share with them so that they understand, oh, wow, she'll be great in this position because she has so much experience, in this role, even if it was in a whole nother job title.
So you mean they don't want to know that I played T-ball when I was 5 years old and I grew up on the south side of Chicago and lived with my grandma?
No. But you can throw that in a funny story, about yourself, but after you have answered the real question.
Right. No, that's so important because I think a lot of people are struggling like, wait, where do I start? I mean, there's so much about myself. What do they want to know? And so that makes perfect sense. Tell them what pertains to the job. I mean, even if it was way back when, your first internship, how do those transferable skills tell them something about yourself? So
Absolutely.
that's the key. It's like, keep it relatable to the actual position. And then tell me those things, impress me a little bit, throw in some keywords while you're talking. And that's what's going to sell you.
Oh yeah, you want to be comfortable, in that situation. So since we know it's a dreaded question, practice that with someone, in your family, one of your friends. You want to be comfortable in it. Some people are not comfortable talking about themselves, and that is a mistake going into it when you essentially need to sell yourself.
Yes. So. Okay. I love it. You don't have to be a salesperson. Just get some practice. We can do this.
Practice. Yeah.
Because you are the best person to talk about you. How about that?
Yeah.
So what's the best way to respond to why did you leave your last job when the answer is parenting?
That, I would say, as I mentioned earlier, just being confident and owning your decision. You don't have to say so many words, just short and sweet. I left so I can, take care of my child. Now, if it's, just to have a baby, they understand, I had a baby, took some time off just to make sure that I have a good, handle on the house, and so you might need to take that extra time off to secure daycare or secure whoever. Maybe it's a parent that's going to come move in and you need to get them situated so that they can be able to help you with this, so you're not being pulled away from work. And I think that is really good because then they understand, oh, okay, this is not going to be a problem. But also
that's the key. It's like, I have this new family responsibility, but I have some things set up so that this will not interfere with my career. And so and most people are gonna totally sympathize and understand because they've probably been there too. So they get it, So just, again, be confident, trust in what you bring to the table. Okay, body language. This is an interesting one. So is there a body language trick in the interview that instantly makes someone look more confident in an interview? What do you think?
Well, absolutely. I would say good posture is always great. It signals to the person looking at you that you are confident, so that's the same thing with how you walk and how you sit. Are you slouched down? Because if you're slouching and things, it may look like you don't really care, about this. So they're like, okay, if you don't care, why should we, why should we keep going with this process?
I mean, it's nonverbal communication, right?
Absolutely. So nonverbal communication.
You're alert and that you care because they need to know that this position is something that you actually want. And so your body and your communication needs to also communicate that to them. And
yes. Yes, 80% of communication is nonverbal. So we know that, be mindful of that, and so that you're able to express, maybe without, even when you're not speaking, that I am the best fit for this position. I will be a great, addition to this company. But a lot of the things that we're looking at is really going to be your professionalism, as well as, the way that you dress, your attire, and hygiene. Hygiene is a big one, but that professionalism. I had a candidate curse in the interview. So, come on. We need to maintain professionalism. So that's very important to us, because that's going to send a red flag, that lack of professionalism and, hygiene in the way that you're dressing.
I just thought of a really good one for you. So at the end of an interview, they always ask you, do you have any questions for us? Now,
Absolutely.
is it a good idea to always have questions to ask?
Absolutely.
Does that help you in the interview? Does it make you look more interested and eager
Yes.
for the position versus not asking anything at all? What's your take on that?
Absolutely. Having questions prepared shows that you're prepared. You're taking this serious. You want this job. So you have done a little bit of your research, and beyond the research that you've done, you want to know specific questions because you're interested. You want to take this job, but you want to make sure that it's going to be a good fit for you. So you're inquiring. Also, it shows a lot of confidence, as well. Oh, some people say, oh, she's kind of bold, that lets them know that you mean business, and that when you're there in this role, you're going to take initiative, which is very important, to make sure that you have all the information that you need. We want to make sure that we are approaching this, that we're both seeing if we're a good fit for this opportunity.
Yeah. And I also think it's the last opportunity to leave a lasting impression. So
Absolutely.
if you have a really good question, maybe it's a little unique, not the old standard one that people typically ask, they're going to remember you more, and you have to set yourself apart.
Say too, that's an opportunity to highlight yourself, certain things that maybe didn't come up in the interview process. Maybe they didn't ask you certain questions that was an opportunity to make you look good. So you can say, oh, well, I researched on the company website, this and that. And I've, went on Glassdoor to look up a couple of things, and I learned that XYZ. But I have a question in regards to that. Boom. That's showing you took an interest, you really researched the company. Another is, asking a question about what do you look for? This one gets them. What is it that you are looking for in the first 90 days to see that you've picked a good, candidate, right? Or what are you looking for in that first 90 days? Something like that. I can't think of it. I've been out the game for a while as far as looking for a job. But when you do that, then they understand, oh, okay, you are ready to take on these responsibilities. You want to be an asset. You want to be here, and you want to make sure that you can do the job. And if you are not at that point, you can be preparing along the way. And they love that. Oh, a successful hire. What do you look for in the first 90 days to see that this was a successful hire? And a lot of times they're going to say, are you fast paced? Are you able to, hit the ground running? Do we have to teach you these things? Are you a quick learner? All of that. And then if you know this, then you can, that's time to express, oh, I'm a quick learner, blah, 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 plug yourself.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. So the next topic we're going to jump into, I think this is for absolutely everybody, whether you're fresh out of college, jumping into your career, maybe you've been at the same kind of career path for a decade or more, climbing the ladder, maximize those earnings. How do you move up in your career and increase your earning potential? So that's what we're trying to dig into a little bit. Now, for the audience out there, what is your dream salary? You can say $1 million. Don't be shy. Manifest it in the comments, whether
Manifest.
you're working for someone or, working for, your own business. We've all got a dream salary. So what is that salary? So let's do it. Let's maximize and manifest, what we want to actually earn. And for our expert, once you are hired, how can new hires prove their value quickly and position themselves for that promotion?
Well, I actually just mentioned it too, is the hitting the ground running. Employers want to see that they made a good choice by, selecting you for the job. And so that's very important, is to hit the ground running and making sure that you take the time. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It just depends on how much you want it and what it is that you're trying to prove. But I would say is researching different things. There's always lots of new processes that are rolling out. So let's just say when you're navigating, a lot of companies are switching to Workday, right? And so that's for me. I'm in HR, so those are the things that I think about. But there might be new systems. There may be changes that are happening in the company. So it's your best bet to get familiar with these changes. Familiarize yourself. A lot of people don't do that. They kind of just roll with it, and then they start improving once they're in a situation where they need to improve. Like you're on a performance, you're on a PIP, right? A performance improvement plan, and we don't want that. We want, because we're looking to excel in this role. So preparing, doing the research, getting yourself familiar with changes, getting yourself more familiar with the job itself. Maybe I'm doing well, but can I be doing better? Right. So showing, and that's going to show them, even if you're not a quick learner, that you're a quick learner, because you're taking out that time, outside of work to improve your skills, right? So that's really important as it pertains to looking for a higher salary and positioning yourself for promotion, to add on to learning, your skill set, improving your skill set, taking classes, outside.
Professional development.
Yeah, professional development, getting a coach. That's very important too, because if you're trying to move up, are you moving up into leadership, or are you just, getting, a higher paid position? And a lot of times you want to do both. So you want to learn from those people who are in a position that you want to be in. Right. Yeah. And so a lot of that is just putting in the extra time. And then also when you come to your boss speaking about promotion, I know I've said it a lot about the selling yourself, but, at least having 2 to 3 things that you can say that you've improved in that last 6 months, because some people are on the fast track, right? Or in that last year that you have learned and brought to the table and have been an asset, showing how you've been an asset to the company because you've taken on more work, or you just have improved your knowledge. And if you share that and you share it confidently, what can the manager say? But yeah, you actually have been an asset. You did do those things. You deserve, an increase. And yeah, for sure. And so, and also to prepare yourself for the answer if you don't get that promotion right away. You have to be able to assess the situation. Is this a no for now, or is this a no forever? And if it's a no forever, being prepared what you're willing to do to make sure you're not staying anywhere where you're cheating yourself, and because that starts to kind of fester and make you think that you don't deserve it. And we don't want that. We have to be confident.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up getting a coach, because I got great advice on getting a professional mentor. So that can literally look like, maybe it's your direct report or somebody on a senior level track at the company that you work for that you really admire. Maybe it's more than a professional relationship and you truly value their input and their insight. I heard that writing out a development plan for where you would like to go as far as where you want to be promoted, and sharing it with your professional mentor is a
Absolutely.
good way to get that kind of feedback and guidance, and they can direct you. Maybe you need a master's degree to get to where you need to go. Maybe you
Mhm.
need a professional certificate, which you can
Yes.
do in like 2 months flat and
Mhm.
show
Fine.
that, hey, I'm still growing. My development is here. I
Mhm.
qualify for the next, level up in my career path.
Absolutely.
Just kind of want to get that input, get that knowledge, and keep learning. You have to be a student. It's a lifelong student situation here
Yes.
for
Forever
all of us.
student.
We're always learning to get to that next level. So this is a fun one. I'm curious to hear your answer. What's the best way to ask for a raise and actually get it?
So yeah, like what I mentioned is just making sure that you come into your manager's office or however you're going to do it when you're going to meet with them. You want to meet with them, and obviously you want to be professional. You don't want to be like come into it like demanding this. You still want to be professional, right? And in no
You
way
still want to keep your job.
you want to keep your job. Just in case you don't get the raise, you want to keep your job, right? For now, right? Until you can quietly quit, if necessary. But you want, before you even come fix yourself to ask, fix your mouth to ask for a raise, you need to know, do I deserve a raise? Ask yourself that question. Do I deserve a raise? And when you do this and spend that time getting prepared, you will build up the confidence to ask that question confidently but respectfully. Right. So you want to know what it is that you have done. What have you have learned? When you have these performance reviews, a lot of the times the companies are having you fill it out. Your manager's having you fill it out. Like, you tell me. And that the reason that is because when you look at what you wrote, if it's not selling you, good chance you're not going to sell them, that you actually deserve this raise. Some companies, as long as you don't mess up, you get, a baseline increase, right? 2% raise or something like that. So some people are like, I'm fine with that. But if you want more, you're looking to get more on that, your performance review and your eval, then you need to bring something, to me. Bring something to me that says you deserve this raise. And not just
Okay, awesome.
minimum, the max.
Right. So I have a quick testimony, share story situation. So in a particular role, I decided that, based on what the salaries were looking like in the market for my
Absolutely.
role, I
Mhm.
was like, this does not quite stack up correctly. And
Mm.
so I decided, with advice from a professional mentor, to do
Absolutely.
a written proposal and explain all the reasons why I deserve to have that next level up promotion. Not
Mhm.
only was I doing the work for that promotion already, but
Mhm.
according to the industry, I should have been making more money. And
Ah,
so, I mean, it was a lot more money that I should be making, right? And
happens all
so
the time.
yeah, I kind of negotiated my way into a higher position just with the written proposal. I typed it up, printed it, I gave it to the head of the department, and
Mhm.
he took it seriously. I scheduled a
Love
meeting
that.
with him.
Mm.
We sat down and we talked about it, and I basically sold myself and it basically told him all the things that I knew I deserved. And
Mm.
with a little bit of, balancing the company budget and
Yes.
kind of connecting with another higher up, I was able to get that approved
Right.
and get promoted within a few months. So, like, don't sleep on a written proposal and
Mhm.
a in-person meeting to sell yourself and get that next raise that you
Mm.
deserve, next promotion that is coming to you. And you probably earned it. And if you don't ask, you won't
Absolutely.
get it. So
Mhm.
again, I know sometimes I hear that women professionals are less likely to ask for what they want in the workplace.
Absolutely.
So this is my advice to all y'all out there. Do not be afraid to speak up for yourselves. You know, our counterparts, the men who we work with, sometimes they're just handed promotions. And if they ask for it, they're bold enough to ask for what they want and what they deserve. So you should too. That was my advice to me. So that's my advice to you. Go after it. You deserve it and you can get it.
That's great advice. Great advice.
Okay, so now let's jump into the juicy story section. So success stories, we all want to hear. As an expert, these glow up stories, these career changing, dream job making moves that you help people with. We want to know, can you share a success story of someone you've worked with who's made an incredible career comeback, or maybe they just decided to do things differently and it just worked out for them? What say you?
Yes, absolutely. So beautiful success story is a good friend of mine, a coworker. We worked together for a while. He was actually a supervisor before I came along. The company expanded fairly quickly, so they were needing to expand, their leadership. And so I came in as HR. Prior to that, he was doing a lot of the responsibilities that were in my role. And so we worked in a field that was an industry where we took care of, the group home setting. And so he was a supervisor overall of the employees. He didn't realize that everything he was doing there was transferable to another role. So I seen him in the process getting burnt out, getting to the point of desperation, as I mentioned earlier. And he's just like, I'm just looking for any other role in this, sector. And I'm like, well, you do realize that you don't have to stay, in this industry. You can apply for a human resources position. You were doing all the things I was doing prior, to this. Take those transferable skills and see how they transfer into other industries. Because most of the time, first of all, customer service, most jobs are service, you're serving someone, and there is a level of, that professionalism that you have to bring in that, in those roles. And so that's very important. You can look at your resume, look at all the things that you're doing in your job and seeing how many other roles that are out there that you could do, right? And sometimes we get hung up on our actual job title, that we think that we can't do some of these other positions. But once you look in the description, you're like, I do that. So basically, I would say in that, situation, I just was able to coach him to understand that there is more that's out there. Your skills are transferable, and you may be missing out on your dream job, or just a job, a job that you can thrive in, and a lot of times we get discouraged because we're working somewhere to get that check. And we don't think that we can basically live our dreams and get the money that we need now. But a lot of the times our skill sets, the things that we're naturally good at, and the things that we've learned along the way, at the bottom, are jobs that are, our skill sets that we need at the top. And so don't be afraid to look outside the industry that you're in, and really take a look at your resume and see what skills that are there that are transferable. And so anywho, he started.
But what job did he land?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Oh. So he started off as, as a supervisor at, a company that served individuals with intellectual disabilities and behavioral issues, and moved to an HRBP in LA, which was his dream. So my advice to him was to get that vision board, and he didn't take it serious. I said, okay, just do a page of what it is that you would like, in your future, the job, where you want to move, and write those things down, and then take those skills that you have learned along the way and see what other opportunities that are out there. And I suggested, moving into the HR arena. And today he is an HRBP making over 6 figures in the place he always wanted to move, in LA. So he's living his dream. And just to think, if he wasn't willing to just take that little piece of advice, and seeing what else is out there. You look at those skills, be confident in what you've done. Because I'm pretty sure, and especially for you mamas out there, the job of being a mother is harder than running a company. And many men will tell you that when they get stuck with the kids for 2 days or a week. Right. They're like, I don't appreciate you. I'm going back to work to running this company.
That's so amazing. What I love about that is, with all of this advice that we're sharing with you guys, you can make your dream job your reality. Okay. These are life-changing decisions. And we're giving you tips so that you can make the most out of your career ambitions and your career trajectory. And so you can get exactly what you need, where you need it, how you need it. And you just got to stay tuned, and apply some of this stuff. It's really, really good. So going back to work isn't just about getting a paycheck, as you know. It's about reclaiming you, your skills, your ambitions, your dreams, and making them reality. And guess what? The experiences you gain as a parent, as an intern, in college, these problem-solving, multitasking, patience, leadership, those are the same skills that make you an unstoppable force in the workplace. So here's your challenge. This week, take one step towards your career goal. Maybe it's updating your resume, polishing it up, dusting it off, using those top 3 tips that our expert gave you, applying for that one job that excites you. It could be a dream, but it can turn into reality if you just apply some of these tips. Or practice your interview skills in the mirror. Answer that question about yourself. Who are you? Tell us about yourself, and make sure that your sales pitch for yourself is nice, tight, and ready to go. Stay prepared is what you have to do. Those are the challenges I have for you. So whatever it is, do it, because you're worthy, you're capable, and the next big opportunity is waiting on you. So today's episode, if it helped you in any way, drop a fire sign emoji, send your input, let us know how you felt. If you have questions for our expert, drop it in the comments. And if you need more guidance, DM us or tag a friend who needs to hear this message, because I think we all do. Throughout our career, things are evolving, so you want to stay on top of it, right? So remember, we're all in this together, and your comeback story, it starts now. So now I'm going to throw it to our expert, Yvonne Bailey. How can the people reach out to you for questions or career coaching, or just to share some love?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just one last tip, just to let you guys know, it's not about perfection. It's just about being confident and owning who you are, and knowing what you're worth and what you bring, and leading with that. That's all. We're not looking for perfection. You will see array. I'm in HR, human resource. You think that that's the most professional position you can be in. And it is, but at the same time, you see people from different walks of life, different accents, different communication styles, but they're in the job. They have landed the job, and they are in charge in a lot of times. So in your role, don't be afraid or feel that you have to be perfect. Just be you, and everything else will align up. But to follow me, I have I'm also a host and content creator of Talks with V. So you can follow me on Instagram at Talks with V, and as well as Talks with V or V Bailey on Facebook. Any way that you want to communicate with me, and the V Bailey Network, or V Bailey the creator on TikTok, because I'm there too. That's right. Outside of that, yeah, you can reach me if you want to shoot me an email and you just need some advice or some career coaching. You can reach out to me on talkswiththee at gmail.com. And then that is talks, TALKSWITH, the as in Vaughn, at gmail.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn at Yvonne Bailey on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing all of this great, great advice.
Of course.
See you on the next Mommy Lifeline here on the Mommy Goals channel. Be brilliant, stay audacious, and set goals. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Amber, for having me.
Thank you.